Hello again, everyone. So this week I'll be talking about Florida sports teams. Over the next 3 weeks, I'll be talking about all sports teams in Florida. This week I'll be doing generic Florida ones. Then I will be doing separate weeks where I'll be talking about the Miami sports teams and the Tampa Bay sports teams. So this week the teams we're going to talk about are going to be the Florida Panthers, the Orlando Magic, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Since they kind of don't fit into their own category, I've lumped those three together, so I'll be talking about those three this week. I'm going to start off today. I'm going to look at the Florida Panthers of the NHL, seeing as the NHL season is coming to an end. We almost know who the two teams that will be competing against each other for the Stanley Cup are going to be. It looks like one might be the Tampa Bay Lightning, so I'll be getting to them in a couple weeks, and then maybe by then they will have won the Stanley Cup, so we'll see if that ends up happening for them. But today it's all about the Panthers. This past year, Panthers had a 38-29-15 record for 91 points, very respectable. They were only 7 points out of a wild card spot, and I do think that next year they are going to make the playoffs and be successful maybe in the playoffs. I'm going to say they're going to make the playoffs. It'll depend who they have to face in the first round, where their seeding is, but I think they got a good mix of veterans and youngsters that can get them to the playoffs. It's just having a solid goaltender again is going to be a key in that happening, and I think Luongo can be that goaltender that can take a team deep into the playoffs. I mean, we saw him do it with Vancouver when he was with the Canucks, and I think he can do. I think he still has the talent to do it. At this stage in his career. Looking at the trades they made, though, obviously. Back at the trade deadline and that kind of and trades throughout the season. They were kind of one of those bubble teams, so it was hard to think if they were going to be sellers or buyers at the trade deadline. They did make some moves. They traded Bergenheim as well as a 7th-round pick in this upcoming draft in 2016. Sorry, not this upcoming one, but 2016 for a 3rd-round pick in 2016. So got a little higher pick there. They also traded a 2nd-round pick in 2015 and a 3rd-round pick in 2016 for Yager. Interesting choice at the stage that he's at in his career. But with the way he played this season, even at 43, he could play till he's 50 if he really wanted to. I know that won't happen, but just based on his production from this season, he's kind of like the Tim Duncan of the NHL. You know, everybody thinks in the Tim Duncan in the NBA. When's he going to slow down? He's almost 40, and Yager's now 43, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down either, and I think he's an amazing veteran presence to have on that roster. Young guys like Huberdeau and Ekblad and those players definitely have a veteran Hall of Famer. I think first ballot Hall of Famer in Yager to look up to, and if I'm them, I'm making sure that I push to be his roommate. I push to be his passenger on the plane when you're going to teams. I push to be the guy sitting next to the seat with him, and you have a video voice recording device, and you record everything he has to say to you, and you read him like a book, and you take all the advice and knowledge that Yager can give you, and you run with that, and it's going to make you a better player. They also picked up Heatley and a 3rd-round pick in this upcoming draft when they traded Fleshman. So again, they picked up some 3rd-round picks in this draft and upcoming drafts and future drafts, and you can still get solid players in the 3rd round. It's whether or not they're going to be NHL ready when you draft them in the 3rd round. They might need a couple more years in the AHL or the OHL before they make it. But they can definitely find solid players in those rounds. So looking at their roster, I'll talk about their forwards first. I'll go into their defensemen a little bit later. But looking at their forwards, you got Barkov. I'll go kind of alphabetically, I guess. I'll go through the list because they've got a lot of solid players. There's not really one or two that I really need to highlight. They got a lot of solid players that can produce for their team. Starting with Barkov. He was the 2nd overall pick back in 2013, just born in 95. This past year, he had a 16-goal, 20-assist season, and I only see his stock rising and him getting better. Then you got Bjugstad, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was the 19th overall pick back in 2010. So he had a 24-goal, 19-assist season, and I think he can easily be a 30-goal scorer for the team. Hayes, who had a 19-goal, 16-assist season. Obviously, F. Huberdeau, 3rd overall pick back in 2011, had a 15-goal, 39-assist season. I think he can easily be a 50-plus point guy for years to come. I don't think that. I think he's still going to grow and continue to get better. 39 assists is fantastic, but I can easily see him being a 30-goal, 50-assist kind of player for this team. Puri who was born in 91. He did only play in 49 games, but in those 49 games, he had 22 goals and a couple of assists, so he can be a definite goal scorer for this team. Troychek, born in 93. Again, he only played in 50 games, and in those 50 games, he had 7 goals and 15 assists. So you have those couple guys that only played in about half a season, 2/3 of a season kind of thing, but are still producing very well for this team. Switching over to the defensemen, looking at some of their younger players with the defense, obviously, Ekblad was their first overall pick back in 2014, and he had a 12-goal, 27-assist season, so he can be that scoring defenseman for you. Same with Gudbranson, who was their third overall pick back in 2010. He had 4 goals, 9 assists for the team. Kulikov, who was the 14th overall pick back in 2009, had 3 goals and 19 assists. And then you have Petrovic, who was the 36th overall pick back in 2010, with 3 assists. He didn't have any goals, 3 assists in 33 games. So you have a lot of young defensemen there who can be offensive defensemen, who can get in on the penalty kill, and be solid with that. When you're on the power play, they can also be those guys on the point that can get some goals in there for you as well. And then when you flip it over to their veteran players, so these are all guys that weren't born in the 90s kind of thing. All those players that I mentioned right there, except for Hayes, who was born in 89, have all been born either 1990 or later than that. So like Barkov was just born in 95 kind of thing, Troychek 93, Ekblad was only born in 96, so he's still super young. So all those players I just mentioned are all their young guys. Then when you look at the defensemen, you got Boland, who only played in 53 games, but he had 6 goals, 17 assists. Boys, 14 goals, 24 assists. I'm going to talk about Yager last because I think he's going to be the key for this team to make the playoffs. Jokinen, 8 goals, 36 assists, very solid season for him. Kopecky only played in 64 games, just a couple goals, 6 assists for him. McKenzie, 5 goals, 6 assists. Thornton, who is 37 years old, another good veteran presence on that team. He only played in 46 games and only had a goal and 4 assists for him there. Upshaw, again, great veteran, only played in 63 games, 8 goals, 7 assists for him there. Then when you get to their defensemen, you got Campbell, Camper, and Mitchell, who are all their veteran guys. Camphor only played in 25 games. Mitchell only played in 66. But Campbell had a 24 assists and 3-goal season at the defensive point. So when you have 3 defensemen, Ekblad, Kulikov, and Campbell, who all had practically 20 assist season plus, Kulikov had 19, but I'm going to lump him in there. That's solid. If you can have 3 defensemen that can have 20 plus assist season, that means they're finding a way to be productive on the offensive end of the ice as well as on the defensive end. And it's important to have those offensive defensemen in your lineup. When you got your 6 defensemen in your lineup, you want to have 2 or 3 that can be assist guys and maybe get a few goals in as well. Finishing off their player talk, before I get to the goalies, I'll finish off the whole roster with goalies, but position players. Yager's going to be the last guy I mentioned. Like I said, 43 years old, but this past season, he 57 games with the Devils, only 20 with the Panthers, but in this past season, when you look at those combined games, still played 77 games in the season, and he had 17 goals and 30 assists. So he almost had a 50-point season for a guy who's 43, which is ridiculously impressive. When you look at his career, he's got 722 goals, over 1,000 assists. He's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer, at least in my opinion. If he doesn't get voted in his first year, I would be shocked by that. I'm thinking he has the shot to get to 750 goals this upcoming year. That's 28 goals, which I know would be a hefty achievement for Yager, especially at this stage in his career. A 28 goal season for him. Even 5 years ago, I think would be something that would be easy for him to get to. 28 could be a stretch, but I think he's got the young guys that are going to support him. Again, it is a team game, but I think what he's done for the league, what he's done for this team, and what he has the potential to do for this Panther team and getting to the playoffs. Obviously, one guy isn't going to get a team to the playoffs, but the impact he's going to have on this team on and off the ice is going to be detrimental to them making the playoffs, I think. And I think the team's going to rally around that. I think if he's got 20 goals and there's still a month left in the season, his players are going to push for him to get the puck, and they're going to find ways for him to get the puck in easy scoring situations, kind of thing. You're going to see him on the power play. You're going to see him, in those situations in front of the net, getting tip-ins, that kind of stuff, to get to that 750 goal plateau. I know it's not going to be a big deal for him, but I think it is going to be a big deal for the team, just to show their support and their appreciation for what he's going to do for this roster and for this organization. Finishing off, looking at Luongo, this past year, 28, 19, and 12, 2.35 GAA with a 921 save percentage, all very respectable numbers, and definitely a goalie that can lead a team in the playoffs. Over the course of his career, he's a 2.50 GAA with a 919 save percentage. He passed the 400 win plateau this past season, so that's a great milestone he was able to reach. And I think this upcoming year, like I said, they were only 7 points out of the playoffs this past season. They definitely have the young guys that can get them there this postseason, as well as for the next while. When you got Huberdeau and Barkov as your forwards going forward, you got Ekblad and Kulikov and Gudbranson as your defensemen going forward. You got a good young roster that can see them make the playoffs this upcoming season and for years to come, I think, as well. So good luck to the Panthers this upcoming season. We'll see what they do with the draft. We'll see what they do in free agency, and we'll see how these young players continue to grow and the impact these veterans will have with those young guys. Thank you again all for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at GHAM614. We'll be continuing my Florida week tomorrow with my look at the Orlando Magic of the NBA. Bye-bye.